Hey everyone, welcome to another episode on the Red Room Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Ward, and today I have a really great friend and fellow Rotarian from San Jose Rotary, Brenda Swiney.
Hi everyone.
How you doing?
Alrighty. How about you?
Good. Thanks again. Thank you for coming. I know it's kind of a little late, but appreciate you coming.
That's all right. No, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So let's dive into it. So San Jose, Silicon Valley. Where did you grow up here? Let's talk about just where you kind of started.
Yeah. So actually, I am an Army brat.
Really?
So I actually don't feel like I'm from anywhere except for I would say maybe Colorado because I went to high school and college in Colorado.
Okay.
So and that was actually where I lived before I moved out here.
Okay.
But yeah, so actually
you're moving all over.
I was moving. I've moved. I've lived in like Japan and then in several states. So yeah, and so then I moved out here and I came to California on a 5-year plan, which I failed.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Now it's home.
Better or for worse for California, I don't know.
Yeah. How was that like? Kind of like moving so much? Because my dad was the same thing. He was so my grandparents were World War II.
Okay.
And he was born in France.
Oh yes.
And
that's
so
right.
he's lived in North Africa, and he was just all over the globe too. So what was kind of like moving around like that like, and then when was that moment where when you land in California and you pass that 5-year mark and you're like, you know what, this is home. Kind of take me through that journey.
Yeah. So first of all, also just another little fact was I'm actually an only child as well.
Okay.
So that I think does add a little bit of difference to this moving aspect because of the fact that I didn't have any siblings or anything. So what happens is I moved to a new place and it's just kind of like me being thrown into a new school or me being, it's just me being thrown into something. Even though, I have to admit, I guess one of the things that it really did teach me, I think not really knowing that until I lived here for a while, was that I never really, in my mind, compared places per se. Mm-hmm. They were all just different.
Yeah. And
some places had some things I liked better than other places, but there was never really a place that I set as the benchmark. And I think about that because I know some people who moved out from New York and they compared everything to New York. And, this place wasn't as good as New York because New York did it this way. But I'm like, well, no, it's actually just different.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I think I just got that because living in different places, I never really had that place in my mind that I would compare everything to.
Yeah.
And then I lived in Colorado for a while. But I think by then it wasn't in my DNA anymore to even make that as the benchmark.
Yeah.
So I moved out to California after I graduated from college.
Where'd you go to college?
University of Colorado, Denver.
Okay, that makes sense. Colorado. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I moved out here and basically primarily because I was looking for a job.
Yeah.
Colorado was very depressed at the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of New York or California.
So when you thought of California and moving out here, was it always Silicon Valley, or were you ever thinking I wonder what LA or San Diego is like, or
Actually,
maybe even up north of Northern California?
No, I think it's actually just pretty much here. I mean, and part of the reason why is quite frankly because of the tech industry.
Yeah.
Because it was very booming. There was a lot of basically jobs. I mean, crudely put, it was like if you can breathe and make fog in a mirror that people were willing to hire you. And being, having graduated, even though I had some work experience, it was just I'm like, you know what? They just need people here. I'm going to come out here and see what I can do. And so basically it was just Silicon Valley or bust.
Yeah. Yeah. And then where did you land? Where was the first little city or town in here that you
Actually, I landed in Santa Clara.
Okay.
Which is really the heart of Silicon Valley, right? Because that's where Intel is.
Yeah.
That's where I landed. And then I basically, I've lived in Campbell and in San Jose for a while. But yeah, so I've kind of stayed pretty close to where I landed.
Gotcha. And then, so you get here and then you're looking for a job. What's that first job? Where do you go? What's that mindset where you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. and then that path that led you there. What was that?
Yeah. So my background is I'm an accountant by trade. So really, my only thought was that I was going to do public accounting.
Yeah.
And do my servitude there, get my license, and then kind of take it from there. So then the real question for me was, what size firm did I want to go work for? Mm-hmm. And that was also one of the things that was pretty, I think, instrumental in how I got to where I am today. Is I originally thought I just wanted to work for like a local smaller firm, mm-hmm. But the big firms were interested in me, the multinational firms and stuff. So I did that on the 2-year plan, which I failed. So I know, so I did. I went to PricewaterhouseCoopers for 2. I was going to go for 2 years, because of 2 years, if I didn't like it, I can leave. Mm-hmm. And 2 years, I stayed there 6.5 years, and so that was basically my only choice. I didn't consider working for like a company like right away or anything like that. It was basically the accounting, because I wanted to get my license here.
Yeah. So, what are some of the companies and what were the kind of like the monumental moments in your life that kind of like led you down this path to where you got today?
Well, so I think, being in public accounting was definitely a very useful experience.
Yeah.
And I do tell that to, young folks who I meet that are graduating from accounting today, mm-hmm. that the public accounting really does give you a kind of a breadth of experience that you really can't get if you go work straight for a company itself. But it's pretty hard. I mean, it can be pretty hard. It's pretty, it's
competitive.
It's competitive, but inside. So, because basically you're working with, I don't know, 100 other people that do the exact same job that you do.
Yeah.
And so, and then you're trying to all move up the same kind of chain. Mm-hmm. So it's competitive in that way, but also the experience you get is really good.
Yeah.
So, so I think that that's pretty important. Just getting exposure to different types of companies, multinational companies, small companies. It was just, different sizes, different ways they do things. You just learn so much.
Yeah.
And then I did leave there, and I actually, I left there when there was a lot of small startups happening. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of my colleagues were leaving to go to small companies.
Yeah.
However, me not following the rules, decided I was actually going to go work for a multinational. And I remember partners in the firm were just like, "Why are you doing that? You should really go." And well, first of all, they're like, "Why are you leaving now? Because we don't want you to leave." And second, why are you going there when, there's so many small companies?
Yeah.
And, and I was like, well, at the end of the day, I'm still an accountant at heart. So there is a conservative part of me. And I felt like it was the most, most conservative way for me to go.
Yeah.
And so, because I figured, small companies always want someone with big company experience. And if you can survive in a big company, then you can survive in another big company. So I'm just like, this is what I'm going to do. And it turned out to be great. I mean, I got a lot of great experience there. It kind of got me on a cycle of, from there, I went to go work for basically a startup company, a small private company. And, and then I just kind of kept doing that afterwards. But it really, I think, gave me a nice springboard for that. Yeah. And quite honestly, it's the people along the way that really make that for you. Mm-hmm. Getting to support, getting to champions, just learning from them, and then also having them kind of speak on your behalf mm-hmm. when you're out there looking for the next thing or something like that. So I think that's really it. It's really key is the people, I think. So
what are your big takeaways, I guess, from working with the bigger firms versus the startups? Are you when you're in the startup realm, do you see yourself taking on more of a front load with everything because you're the person versus, like you were saying, there's there's 60 of me or whatever. What are the differences between that, for someone who's watching this that maybe is okay, I just graduated school and I'm heading down this path, and I'm, trying to figure out if I want to go that route. What were some of the real big differences? Well, obviously one's bigger than the other, but
yeah, what are the things that stand out? So I'll just give you an example of a conversation. So at one point, my company was acquired by a multinational, and so I of course worked at the small company that got acquired. And we had some of the folks from the accounting team come visit us at our location. And they came and I'm like, hey, do you want a tour? And they're like, sure. I'm like, okay, you want me to show you like the production floor and, the equipment and all this. So I was walking them through the production floor and showing them like how we did a build out and like talked about the different parts and so on and so forth. And if someone said to me, they're like, this is like very interesting because like, for me, all I ever saw was cash. Like I never got to see this. I just got to see that one number, cash. And I just, I guess seeing a lot of cash is not a bad thing either. However, but their point is like, you get exposed to so much more when you're with this smaller company. And that is true. Because what happens as a company grows, people tend to become very deep and specialized in what they do. While in a smaller company, you tend to have to be more wide and be able to cover more things. And for me, that fits better because, like I said, I color outside the lines a lot, which can be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
But since I do that, a smaller company tends to work better because I will get involved in those things whether or not you want me to.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I love that. It's that grit.
That's right.
It's that grit to go and get it done.
That's right.
So since we are in like the tech central hub of the world, Silicon Valley, and just in your career, technology wise, what have you seen? What are those like kind of like big moments that you've seen where like technology is kind of like, there's been a moment where it's really helped out maybe your workload or something? Like what were those like programs or those companies that really helped you out with your own day-to-day work?
So that's interesting. So one of the things, so fundamentally, right, when you look at my trade, which is accounting, I wouldn't say it's not necessarily what I do today, but when you look at my trade, accounting fundamentally has not changed in, I don't know, probably like hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So basically, the tools that are out there that are trying to make it better are things that are basically trying to eliminate some of the work that is more routine. Okay, because in accounting, there's a couple of levels. There's like kind of more routine work, which is more the process, like you do, like if you pay invoices, you look at an invoice, you process it, and then you write a check, right? That's kind of a repetitive, everyday process. And then there's other where you end up doing reviewing things and like kind of analyzing them. So I think that a lot of the programs out there have gotten much better at kind of helping you become faster at the more routine things.
Yeah.
And now they're actually trying to focus on, okay, how can we make those other things easier, faster? Analyzing, the results of your numbers and your financial results, understanding what's going on in your business, helping you find potential mistakes without you necessarily having to like look into it yourself, like kind of early warning systems.
Yeah.
And also just, and there's a lot of fraud and that kind of stuff out there, right? There's a lot of social engineering, putting systems in place to help you kind of stop that.
Yeah.
Because prevention is better than detection. And so if you can get those systems in place that help you prevent, then you're in a much better shape. And I would say that those are in the infancy right now, but I think those will have a great impact because it's all about protecting things.
Yeah.
So and honestly, like everyone knows QuickBooks, but then there's also Oracle and everything in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a gamut.
Do you see AI taking place? What does that look like?
Well, actually, some folks that I know, and I have to admit, I've only used AI for things like writing poems.
Hey, they are great at doing that.
They are.
They are absolutely great. And if it's like, I really don't like that, or it's like, it's close. Like, can you do another iteration? And it's like, bam, instantly. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
However, I know folks that have basically tried to use it to give them a first draft of like even like a contract amendment or or like kind of like putting in a bunch of data and getting a sense. So I know a lot of people have done that. And honestly, and it's kind of funny because now everyone says they do AI, and then like I look at products and I talk to my colleagues, and we're just like, is this really AI? It's really not AI, but it's just everyone sticks AI on the end now. But also there's just concerns and the hesitation with using a lot of AI is just more the concerns about privacy, about data and that kind of stuff. So there's that hesitation there because you don't know really where it goes once it.
It's a very fair assessment.
And and like I said though, but like if you're just trying to do like a contract amendment or something, you can ask it to do a generic one, and then you pull it offline and you tailor it yourself. But it's a sensitive area right now, and it gets a lot of attention.
It is interesting. I just recently got the Meta AI Ray-Ban glasses. Have you heard of those?
I have heard of those.
Like one of my colleagues here at the office, she had a pair, and I was like, that sounds so interesting. And so I got them. It's wild. You can literally like take phone calls, listen to music from them. And then it has like the little cameras. So it's like you could literally look at something. And let's say you're traveling around the world and something's in a different language. You can be like, hey, Meta, translate this. And it'll be like, okay. Or if you're like, let's say you're in Paris and you're looking at like the Eiffel Tower. What is this? Oh, this is the Eiffel Tower. It was built like in here. And Or if you're like looking at like, a bunch of different like shopping items or whatever from like a grocery store list, stuff like sugar and all that and eggs. And it's like, okay, what can I make with these ingredients? And it's like, oh, you can make these things.
Oh, wow.
It's wild.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. It's definitely, and seeing how like ChatGPT is stronger in one sense versus Meta versus, Twitter, like they all have different ones. And it's like, it's interesting seeing that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your company. So your website and that you sent me and everything like that. So who reaches out to you, and then what do you provide for them?
Yeah. So I'm what's called a fractional CFO COO. So that's Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operating Officer. And so the folks who I help are generally venture-backed startup companies, even later stage, meaning closer to perhaps having some kind of an exit, whether it's an acquisition or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, so basically I get all my work is referrals. So it's either from other founders or from VCs or folks that I've worked with before.
That's great.
Yeah.
No door knocking, right?
No door knocking. Well, and also for me, again, it gets back to, it's all about relationships.
Exactly.
So the door knocking is not really my style.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I prefer to have a relationship and a referral. And that way, at least the person who's referring me can say like, yep, I know this person. And also they can give them a sense of how I operate.
Yeah.
Because that's also another thing is, if you get someone that doesn't really know you, and then, it's like walking into, a new job, and then you're finding out that your personalities really don't work.
Yeah.
Right. And then what do you do then? But yeah. And so that's what I do. Again, I tell people I do everything but kind of write code. So I don't engineer.
Yeah.
I don't do marketing, and I don't do sales.
Yeah.
And then basically all the other stuff I cover. So I do play a lawyer on TV, and then HR and IT. I play an IT person, sort of.
Yeah.
Very weekly, but and then obviously I oversee the finance functions as well.
That's great.
Yeah. So basically, I'm a jack of all trades and master of none. And that is one of the things about being with a smaller company, is that's what you end up being.
Yeah.
While in a big company, you may become very, very knowledgeable and doing one thing, but you don't have that breadth. But yeah. And I like coloring outside the lines. I like going out and doing things I'm not, going into other areas.
That's the true heart of like being in Silicon Valley. It's the Steve Jobs quote. He's like, it's literally that. Color outside the lines. The rules aren't, that are in place were created by people that aren't as smart as you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's that innovation and drive and heart, and you got it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really neat.
Yeah.
So going from there, how did you get involved with San Jose Rotary? What's up, everybody? If you're watching this.
Yeah, so actually, I belong to a professional organization, Financial Executives International, of course,
Cool.
And they needed a speaker, and someone told me about Rod Deardawn.
Yeah.
So I am a member of the Rod Squad.
Yeah. I'm actually talking to Rod right now and Gloria to get them on. They're coming in a couple weeks. So
nice.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, so I'm a member of the Rod Squad.
Yeah.
And of course, I worked with him to get him to present and helped with all that. And then
wait, so how'd you meet Rod? What's that story?
Just someone said, "Hey, I know Rod Deardawn, and maybe he'll want to come talk to you about climate change."
Yeah.
So yeah, I just called him.
Yeah.
I just called him.
There you go.
It's just
There you go. And so he's like, "Hey, you need to come check out Rotary."
Well, he waited until after he did his speech, though. After he did his presentation. Yeah, then I got the call, which is the typical Rod call, which is, "Why aren't you in Rotary?" And I'm like, well, I quite frankly never thought about Rotary before, because I have to admit I had a stereotype of Rotary in my head, like I'm sure most people do.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh no, you need to come and you need to come see what it's like," and so on and so forth. So so I showed up for a couple of meetings and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I like these folks, and I had actually known a few folks that are in our club from other interactions that I had outside of the club.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of interested because I'm like, oh yeah, I know, like I actually know a few people here already other than Rod, and so then I joined, and I've actually only been a member now for about 5 years, 6 years.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What was for those that kind of want to figure out the Rotary thing, your first year is called red badging.
Yes.
What was your red badging experience like? What was your project that you guys did?
Oh, okay. So we did a project. We did a landscaping project.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Neat.
At City Team. We did a landscape project there. I don't remember what the other one was. Oh boy, because we're supposed to do 2.
Yeah.
I remember the landscaping project. That was much more. The other one was not that memorable.
See, I did the Washington Elementary. We built the new planter boxes.
Okay.
And then Rod, you were there too, which was fun. But we did that, and then the other one that I was told was you just had to like participate in like one of the barbecues.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I did 2 barbecues. And then
those are fun.
Yeah, that was our fun.
Yeah, like little history park right there. Like that's such a cool like little spot.
It is a cool little spot, and it's nice to kind of go in there almost like it's private, right? Because it's just us, and then you can go walk around and see stuff.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah,
it's really neat.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Leslie was showing me. We had I'm part of the culinary and hospitality committee. And we had an event at the Gordon House a couple weeks ago, and I made some bomb asparagus, and I had my pops was one of those COVID sourdough guys.
Oh yeah.
And so he made a couple of those to like bring, and then I learned how to do what is it? Whipped. I'm spacing out on it. It's like a cheese ricotta. Whipped ricotta. Yes, that's it. It was my first time making it. So I was like, but everyone was like, "Wow, Blake, this is really good." I'm like, it took me like 2 seconds. I just, ChatGPT, give me the best, figure it out and just put it together. But it was really cool. Leslie showed me upstairs, and like, there's like an actual signed letter from, Mr. What's his name? Paul
Hastings.
Yes. Yeah. It's really, really cool. It's like fun. And like the house was located somewhere completely different, and they somehow moved the house, entire thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they would do that.
Well, I don't know if you were there lately, but I think for the last couple picnics, if you ventured again away from everything else outside of the lines, I guess.
Yeah.
You can actually see the Coyote Valley train station still up on the stilts.
Wow.
Because they moved that from because that was going to get demolished.
Yeah.
So they moved. So the Coyote Valley train station, they've actually moved it in, and they're going to refurbish that.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. They're gonna have like a little train going around or something.
Yeah, well, they have like that whole train section.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually over there.
Yeah.
But it was on stilts. I actually took a couple pictures of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's amazing. Like they like lift it up from the foundation and stick it on a wide bed and drive it very carefully and slowly through town.
That's so crazy to me. I think the only thing similar in my life that was something like huge like that, when I was down in LA, This was when I forget the name of the space shuttle, but it was like the last space shuttle, and they were flying it in from Florida, and it's in the museum at USC.
Oh, you know what? I watched that on TV.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they when they dropped it off at LAX, they had it. They're like, oh yeah, it's gonna go like on Highway 1.
Right, because they took the wings off, right?
Oh, they had the wings. You know what they did? They literally like all the like light poles and everything. As the thing was coming up, they unscrewed them and lifted them down.
Because I remember
and
something.
then the trees too. They didn't cut the trees down. They just like somehow dug underneath them, moved the trees on their side, like, and they were like big trees.
Right.
Thing went. I remember it was like 3:00 in the morning. I was like waiting for it. I'm like, okay, where is this thing? Where is this thing? And then like all of a sudden, like this just giant space shuttle is just going up the road. And I woke up because I heard the noise, and I go running outside. I'm like looking at this thing. It was just so cool to see that. But yeah, so I'm like, I'm just wondering like how a space shuttle's one thing, but like a whole entire house with rooms and
yeah. Well, and it's not as like, fragile, right? It's just more fragile, right? But they literally
they got it there. Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah. And I think just from the reason like why I got into it with Rotary was because of my grandfather, and he always spoke so highly of it. And I remember this was the man that taught me like my multiplication tables and all that stuff growing up. And I always had his San Jose Rotary stuff like up in the back of his office. And so Helen Lambert, is my sponsor. And so coming into this, what I love about it are just the different speakers that we get from just all these different just businesses and just backgrounds of just people that on your every day-to-day like life, you wouldn't even think about what other people are like going through or doing or innovating and doing these things. So with that, what are your like top speakers that you took, like you're like, whoa, that's really cool, that's really interesting, from like your course of being like at Rotary? Like what are some of those ones that like really stuck out to you?
Wow, that's tough. That's a tough one because there are a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Actually, I've also attended some district events that had some great speakers, and actually a couple of them, unfortunately, they don't speak anymore. Otherwise, I've been trying to get them to speak at our club.
Yeah.
But like you're talking about AI earlier, there was a speaker at an event where she really explained in a very like easy to understand way, like how AI works and like why it has its fallacies. And it was just like, oh, now I understand. Like it was like so very clear, right? She was able to there wasn't a lot of technical jargon or anything like that. One of the speakers that we had at Rotary at one time, he talked about the whole mountain lion issue.
Yeah.
And that was enlightening and very interesting, and certainly gave me a perspective on the situation I didn't realize. That's like trying to make the walkways for them so they can get on the other side because of territories and that kind of stuff. Like I never would have thought about that.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a good one. And then we've had like a lot of them about the arts, which is not something that I normally do. Again, right? I'm a very like left brain person or whatever. But like listening to that, it's always just very fascinating, like how people can think like that, and because for me it's very foreign. Yeah, like it's very foreign to be able to do that. The gentleman who spoke about the astronomer. Right, remember were you there for that one?
I think so. Yeah.
He was very enlightening. I always enjoy kind of getting kind of the perspectives on the economics. That's the other thing that's really kind of interesting about Rotary too, is you could kind of get these pseudo-political issues discussed, and you can hear kind of like different sides. Yeah, and like for me in my normal day to day, it's all business. Yeah, it's just all business stuff. Yeah. But then when you go there, you get to hear like these like like, I would say other professions, but just other sides of things.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed the technology speakers, I have to admit.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's one of the things I'm interested in is
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah. Well, going off the AI thing, we had, the gentleman's name is I'm missing it right now, but it was like the creator of Siri.
Yes. Yes. He was good.
That was so interesting because
Yes.
I'm just like, oh, this is I've known Siri a really long time. We go way back, where I'm like, hey, Siri, take me home, directing you to the nearest Starbucks. No.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Take me home.
Yeah.
Calculating route to, there.
Yeah.
It's like, now, but to see where that has gone, I just found that talk so fascinating.
Yeah.
And just to see like his perspectives on things.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. The technology side is very, very.
Yeah, because you get a lot of people that are kind of the front end of it, right?
Yeah.
Because he's kind of in the front, right? Because he was like part of Siri, and now he's seeing like other changes and stuff like that. I actually know the gentleman who invented Finder.
Really?
Yeah. I actually know a person who wrote Finder. Yeah. How's that? My claim to fame.
Have him come in and talk. Can you?
I don't know if I could get him to do that.
Just send him this episode. Come talk to us. That'd be fun. I love hearing like things like that. For me too, I'm a big history guy. Mm-hmm. So when the gentleman came in with the 49ers and he had the coffee book table, I had no idea that the San Francisco 49ers colors and where they started from came from Santa Clara University.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And it's like, oh yeah, they were just a bunch of college guys after they graduated that they're like, oh yeah, there's this thing called the NFL. It's like starting up and we need a team on the West Coast and like, okay, let's do it. And we'll have our colors be maroon and gold. And it's like, now it's, we're almost a contender almost. We're trying to get that next Super Bowl ring. I'm really, I'm like, come on. I'm so close. Because it's going to be here this year too.
It is? Oh, it's going to be. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we.
Feels like it was just here.
Won it at home. Come on, Niners, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I love about it is because you have your thumb on the pulse of the city and everything that's going on. Like with Bert in the winery.
Yeah.
I found his talk so fascinating because for like my generation, a lot of when you see on social media, all of these, and he made this point that you see all of these celebrities doing like spirit bottle like things. And he's like, and no one's focusing in on the wine anymore because they're all doing like the spirits and how that's affecting like the wine business. And I was like, that's so fat. I would never have thought about that. Like, it's just these little like tidbit interesting things. Mm-hmm. It's like so cool. Yeah. And just meeting everybody from like all these different backgrounds. It's a really cool melting pot of just like the people that run Silicon Valley. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and also even like our, International Services Committee who spoke last week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that getting involved with more the international things is we joke about first world problems, but like I didn't realize what some of the third world problems were, right? Yeah. And then you really kind of like learn like, oh my God, like, yeah, there's like these cultures that have beliefs that are so different from ours that we think are just like normal and for them it's not.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's really great is like you get this exposure not just to local or regional, but also you can get like a global perspective that you wouldn't have before.
Yeah.
Right. And then like to your point, I belong to some professional organizations, but then honestly, those are people that are like me, like they're just like me, just, different in some ways. While Rotary is literally like, there's like Blake, who's dramatically different from me.
I'm Blake.
Yeah, that's right. That's Blake. He's dramatically different from me. But, it's like if it wasn't for Rotary, I don't know when our paths would have ever crossed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, and then like I said, like Rod and, like heaven knows, Larry Stone, the county assessor. Boo.
Inside joke. Join, we'll get it.
Yeah, exactly.
We love you, Larry.
It's just like, or just people who do different things. Then, it's just so interesting because I love learning from people and I love hearing like people's perspectives and all, so that's why I do agree with you. Like Rotary is a great melting pot for that. If you don't want to kind of be dealing with people like you. all the time.
Yeah. So you do Rotary, but then you also do the district.
Yes.
So for people that, maybe are thinking about joining Rotary, what are these districts? What are they?
Yeah, so basically Rotaries has layers, right? So the bottom, well, in some ways I feel like it's a topmost layer, but I guess directly the bottommost layer are clubs. So like we're in a club. Then the clubs roll up into a district. So a district is a combination of clubs. And then districts roll into zones. And then zones roll into regions. And then you have, Rotary International at the very, very top ultimately.
Yeah.
So basically, our district is basically 63 clubs that form our district. And it's basically based on kind of a regional thing.
So right? For us, what are the far reaches of our district?
So,
what are those cities?
Yeah, so basically we go from about Palo Alto to Livermore to Hollister, then Santa Cruz, and then kind of back up.
Gotcha.
So it's a pretty big area. But San Francisco is in a different district.
Yeah.
But then again, that's another thing that's really nice about Rotary is I can go to district events and I meet even more different types of people and then I meet different clubs and I hear about how other clubs do stuff and for me I was like, oh wow, that's like what we do.
Yeah.
And but we are the biggest club in the district.
Mm-hmm. So, what are we? Largest in the world? Is that what this?
Yeah, we're in the top 10. I don't
top
know.
10? Yeah, or something. Yeah. Everyone we're like, oh, that's cool.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we're one of the biggest ones in the world. Yeah, we definitely are. Yeah. I'm just not sure if we're still 6 or if we're a little bit. We dropped to 7 or something. But yeah.
So tell everyone what you do for the district. Because we had that great banquet that you asked me to. She was
that's
like,
right.
Can you MC? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'm down.
I know, and you did a wonderful job.
Well,
you
thank
did a
you.
great
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So actually, so the district, I've done various things over the years. Actually, they seem to find ways to get me to do things. I started out actually as a district treasurer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I guess kind of playing into the whole CFO role thing.
So when you got into Rotary, what was that? What was that like? I want to work on the district level.
Actually, Was
it Rod pulling you into it?
No, actually, it was not Rod, believe it or not. It was me just answering an email. Literally, I got an email. The district governor sent out this, I think, massive email to everybody in the district. And he said he needed help in finance. So I arranged a call with him. This was Ramesh. And I'm like, what do you need help with? And we were on the phone for an hour. And we, I guess, sort of figured out that maybe he just needed help with a budget. So I'm like, okay, well, I could do that. So I helped him with the budget. And, and then, he had me come to the finance committee meetings. And everybody's like, who's this? Mm-hmm. She's a red badger. We've never seen her before. And she's in this meeting and she's asking a lot of questions because I know nothing about Rotary at that point.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like,
yeah,
I've only been in a Rotary for 9 months.
Well, that's cool. You were red badging when they brought you in.
Yeah, I was red badger. Yeah. I was total red badger.
Yeah.
No joke.
6 scare. Yeah, absolutely. That's cool.
And so I'm asking all these questions and so on and so forth. And then I helped present the budget. And then I left. And then Ramesh called me later and says, oh, you're going to be my treasurer. And I'm like, oh, okay.
No choice in the matter. You are going to be it.
Yep. So I became the treasurer and I did that for a couple of years. And then after that, I was project chairs because the district governors have a project every year. Mm-hmm. So I was project chairs. I'm also the San Jose liaison. Ooh. I know. It's a special role.
That's cool. Wait, so what is that? What do you
basically I help keep the district up to date on what San Jose is doing, and I keep our president up to date on what the district's doing. Gotcha. So I'm kind of so it is a liaison role.
Yeah.
But it's considered a role on the leadership team for the district.
Cool.
Yeah. So I continued. I'm trying to find folks who want to take that role eventually, because I don't think it's one I should do all the time.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of fun because you do get to hear about a lot of stuff the other clubs are doing and everything else. So it's, and then I actually, in a couple of years, I'm going to be treasurer again.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
Gita's asked me to be treasurer. So I guess technically next year I'm assistant treasurer because of the fact you're supposed to be that before you're treasurer. But
so with that liaison role, then while you're in charge of talking with the club and then the district, are you also in charge of talking with the zone? Is that the next level up?
That would be the next.
Or is that a different position?
That would be a different position.
Gotcha.
And actually what a lot of people do is they try to get visibility in the district and then they start moving to the zone. So like what I see is a lot of former district governors are now trying to do more stuff at the zone level. Yeah. Wow. So for instance, Ramesh, who got me involved in the district, he's doing a lot of stuff with the zone now.
Got you.
Yeah. So yeah, because also one of the things I always wonder is once you hit, I mean, even as the club president, I wonder this. But as district, I don't know how you can have a job and do that because it takes a lot of time. Because like our district governor, for instance, visits 63 clubs during their tenure.
Wow.
In 1 year.
Wow.
So I don't know how you have a job. So
yeah,
I'm wanting to know the secret.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. That's a lot of travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I can't even imagine the next up and up and up and up. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You ever think you'd ever want to keep?
I think about it, and and I've talked to various folks at the district and within our club about it. But again, the whole thing, I'm like, well, how do you have a job and do this?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, that's the only thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
I'm still working.
Yeah. Maybe that's a Chat GPT question.
Exactly.
There you go. I'm interested in doing this. Tell me what the job,
Yeah. Tell me what I can do with my day, and Chat GPT will probably tell me that I'm just lost.
Yeah.
You're hopeless. There's nothing you can do with your day.
So it's like the event that I emceed for.
Yeah.
What was that whole process like, setting all of that up? That was a huge event, and you had to talk with, I'm sure, a lot of people to get that set up.
So that was a district conference.
Yeah.
And actually, like this weekend, actually, we have the district is doing women in International Women's Day event on Sunday. They're going to do something for that as well. It's basically like a huge party, and it takes quite honestly, it's all the folks on the committee that help, because people take roles and then they take and just have to be able to navigate those roles. And then you have the chair that kind of pulls it together. And it is an orchestration. And of course, things don't always go as planned, but you just hope that it's not anything so bad that nobody notices. So but it's a lot of fun, and it's really nice when it's done, because then you're just like, wow, look, we did it.
Yeah. No, I had a great time. It was really, really fun. I think one of the moments where I was like sweating a little bit was when I had to read off all the names of the people coming through, because I didn't have like a list of how everyone pronounced their last names and stuff. And so I was just kind of like,
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to try my best and just kind of sail through it. And then like at the end, I was kind of like, biting my nails, like saying like, hopefully I said everyone's names right. But everyone came up to me like, you did a great job. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, I know it is. I know. Well, because that's also the thing, right? You got caught in at the last minute, let's do things a little differently. Yeah. And it's like, what? Wait, we didn't plan it this way. Yeah, that always happens too, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's really, really fun. Just meeting people and just kind of like seeing like all the different sides of things too, and just having like a collective, and you hear different people's points of views. And I think that's really important, because it expands your mind and it has you thinking about different things differently, and approaching at it from different angles. Like, okay, this person's asking a question to the speaker about this particular reason. I've like thought of that before, and it just kind of, that's what I love about it. So
it's like these different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's always good when you hear perspectives that may challenge your own.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of where like you really brought into mind, and it keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
Because if you always hear people agreeing with you, then that's just like, that's no fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Echo chamber. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be where people like are challenging you, so that way you're just like forced to kind of like think through like, oh, well, wait a minute. Like, is this a fact I didn't know, or do I really disagree with it, or, and why? Right.
Yeah.
So I do think that that's like, that's why it's so great just to meet different people. That's why I love meeting different people and hearing about what people do.
Yeah.
And just their perspectives on things. And, I can kind of geek out on some of that stuff. So
it's just such a fun time. I'm really, I feel like I'm really blessed that I was able to get in, and just kind of like meet amazing people like yourself, and just everything is it's been such a huge, honor to be involved with everything, just meeting people. I think one of the coolest moments for me was when I got my red badge, and I was up on the podium and I kind of spoke about my grandfather a little bit and how he was, a part of the club. And I sat back down at the table, and one of those just coolest moments, I had these people that I have never met before in my life, but they knew my grandfather. Oh. And while I feel kind of bad, but like while the speaker was talking, they got up, and like some of these guys were like old gentlemen, and like they walked up and like, got on like a knee next to me and just kind of was like, your grandfather was like such a, and they were just like speaking so highly. They had like 5 or 6 different guys come up and just like, talk to me about my grandfather. And I was just like, if he had this much of an impact here, like I just know I'm in the right area. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just like hearing all that stuff, it's fun. Because again, I knew him as the guy that taught me my multiplication tables.
Well, I was going to say also, you get to hear about another side of him that you probably didn't have exposure to before, right? You can hear some stories about him or whatever, and like you never you wouldn't have known that otherwise, right? Because you weren't part of that life.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like we were looking at the Paul Harris people. There was a gentleman named Ray Silva, who's one of my grandfather's friends. And I saw his name and I was like, oh my gosh, there's Ray, So I went back home and, I was like, hey mom, like Ray Silva was up on the thing. She's like, oh my gosh, So it's like, it's fun just being able to like meet these people that hung out with him. And even though he's, he passed away in like 2008, it's just cool that his memory still kind of.
Well, I was going to say, his memory's still out there, right? So he's still alive, right? No, that's great.
It's just really, really cool. So if anybody like, again, I think the thing with Rotary is like, when you first hear about it, you're like, oh, you kind of have that, presumption of like what it is. But after being in it now, like, it's so much fun.
Yeah,
it's way cool. What committees are you a part of?
So I'm on the Unhoused Impact Committee. I'm on the International Services Committee. And then I'm on the what we call Pause for Consideration, or the Animal Committee, basically. And then Fun and Friendship. Yeah. And then the Services for Seniors Committee. So
these committees, like, kind of explain to everyone, like, what they are, because they're these little smaller groups within Rotary, but and they focus on specific things. So how does one start?
Right. Yeah. So basically the committees are where the action really happens. And we have a lot of committees in our club, mainly because, we have a lot of people and everyone has different interests. So like, for instance, Services for Seniors is what it sounds like. It's basically, we try to find activities and things to work with our more senior population. The Animals Committee, the same thing. We focus on animals that are in shelters or, perhaps even homeless. Yeah. The Unhoused Impact Committee also focuses on homeless, but on the, people side and trying to find housing and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Fun and Friendship is what we call an internal facing committee. And that's basically a committee that, organizes events for Rotarians to go to just have fun and hang out. Right. So it just kind of depends. And the International Services Committee is one that's focused on more the global problems. Yeah. Because like I did a global grant. And so because what you can do is if you raise if you have a project and amount of money and you have to work with a club someplace else. Right. So that's also the interesting part is you get to actually work with a club in another country. You can also apply to get a global grant. Well, they'll do they'll give you some funds as well for that project, and that comes from Rotary International itself.
Interesting. So does that? So how do you go about getting that grant? Now, is that, for example, if you're going to that other country where that Rotary Club is, because we are like a larger club in that like top 10, do you see more of these smaller Rotary clubs from the areas that maybe need help reaching out to San Jose and being like, hey, this is it? Or is it more of like you're reaching out to these different Rotary clubs saying like, hey, is there anything we can help you out with? Or how does that work?
So it probably goes a little bit of both ways. But what I do find is that, these clubs, they do, like, for instance, like typically the U.S. will be kind of like the partner club, and then the countries themselves will be the host club, because they're the ones that actually are feet on the ground. I think, like, for instance, when people go to the Rotary conventions, the international conventions, they meet up with people from the States, and if a club's interested in doing some kind of international projects, they exchange phone numbers or WhatsApp contact information, and then they follow up afterwards. I think it goes both ways. And then also, once a project is done, they look for follow-ups. Because, like, for instance, with the club that I did the project with in Uganda, they're talking to me, trying to have me help them find other clubs or whatever that may want to do this, and perhaps host again, or at least provide some guidance on how to get through some of the paperwork, because there's a whole application process and that kind of stuff. So they're asking me like, oh, okay, is there, is your club interested in doing this again, or is there another club that's interested in doing this, and maybe you can help us introduce and partner with them. Yeah. So it kind of goes both ways.
Gotcha.
Again, it's that whole connection. It's that whole and actually I was introduced to the Uganda club through someone else in Rotary, mainly because I did the Governor's Project a couple years ago, which was about menstrual hygiene, and so this club in Uganda wanted to do a project about that. So someone in Rotary was like, "Oh, the district did this, and Brenda was the chair on that, so maybe you should." So here I am. Yeah. And so so that's kind of how it happens.
Interesting. Talk about the Uganda project. Like, kind of let everyone know what you did.
Yeah. So basically,
because that was really cool.
Yeah. It was a very cool project. So. Way back when, a couple of years ago, the district governor, her project was menstrual hygiene. Yeah. And so what we did was we collected a lot of funds. We did a lot of fundraising, and then we picked a few countries to do this in. There were some in India, and Kenya, and some other places. But I became involved in the project in Uganda, and then for the Uganda project, we decided to try to also apply for a global grant. What was very interesting about that was there's a gentleman. It was actually gentlemen from the club who wanted to do that, and one of them, he had all boys, and one of them had girls. But even the gentleman who had boys, and he's really passionate about this. It's just really,
those are the best people.
I know.
They have to be passionate about it in order to really drive it home.
Yeah, and the fact that he has all boys is just like, it just adds, I think, so much more to the story, because it's not like something he sees his daughters being impacted. He's not, right? He has sons. This is not a problem that like necessarily personally affects him. Yeah, but he's very passionate about it. So basically, it was building a washroom with running water, and then teaching students, both boys and girls, how to, just kind of education about the menstrual hygiene, how to make pads, reusable pads, and make soap and Vaseline. Wow. And doing that in a school. Wow. So about 400 students altogether. Wow. And actually it happened. It basically was completed in like 5 months. Once they found the water was a challenge, because they had a spot for the water. You go and dig, and there's no water. So then you had to go find another spot. Once they found the water, though, it went pretty quickly. Yeah. So it was, but it's very good. So then they want to do that in more schools. So that's amazing. Yeah, it is. This is really amazing.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah. And also that project basically folds into the Rotary WASH area focus, which is water, something I don't remember, sanitation and hygiene.
Yeah.
So that's, that's WASH. And so, so we fall into the kind of like that area of focus that Rotary has. And so it was very cool. So, yeah. So I'm working with them to try to help them find, be able to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really neat. I think just being able to see when you travel and go places and when you see that the Rotary symbol just kind of everywhere after being in it now for like almost 2 years. It's like, you have much more appreciation for what the clubs do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wait till your friends start sending you pictures of a Rotary wheel from when they're traveling. That's when, because I do that. My friends, they send me pictures of a Rotary wheel from where they're traveling.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. I get, it's that. I've had a couple friends send me, some of the agency stuff, from real estate and everything. They're like, oh, look, I'm at this office in Portugal. I'm like, I was just there, so it's like, it's cool. But yeah, it's just, Rotary's such a fun group. My, soon to be brother-in-law, he and my sister are getting married here August 2nd in Northern England.
Ooh.
So that's going to be fun to go, check out. But he's actually the president of, I think just became the president of the Malibu Rotary Club.
Oh, okay.
And so the issue that they had there is that the club's kind of small and it was kind of like dwindling. So he's like trying to like go out and get more people, you know what I mean? And so it's that, what's fun is I'm also in the recruitment committee or the membership committee. Yeah. So it's kind of like,
I'm on that committee too. I forgot.
It's fun to just kind of like, all right, let's go out and get some like new people. And, I'm excited because this year we got a lot of new members that have joined the club.
Yes.
And it's nice to kind of see it's growing.
Right. And it's great to have the new energy.
Yeah.
Right? Again, it's just like new people and new energy and just more dynamic. Right.
Yeah. It's just exciting, so I'm actually going down to LA here, I think in a couple weeks, because the agency, we have an annual networking event called Forum.
Okay.
And so it's all the agents from around the world at all of our different offices, and they're all coming to Palm Springs. But while I'm down there, got to talk to Jaron and see if I can go to like a Malibu club.
You can.
Lunch.
Well, actually, that's the thing. You don't even need to have permission.
Yeah, you just show up.
Yeah, you can just show up. Because they always tell you that, and I admit I have not done this.
Yeah.
But they always say hey, if you're traveling somewhere, you should go to a meeting for the local club, and you can ask.
Trade the little flags.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say you get a flag from Leslie, and you go and you trade the little flags, man.
That is pretty neat. I love that, seeing like the different groups and just the trading of those.
But I have to admit, I have not done that yet. I have looked a couple of times actually, but then either they don't have a meeting when I'm there, or I'm more interested in going and doing my tourist thing than I am in going to the meeting at that time or something. But but no, they say you should do that.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun to check out with everything.
Yeah, I know. Like a friend of mine, she's trying to actually get her mom to join Rotary because she's just like, my mom needs a social outlet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, because she's actually in San Diego area.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, I says, if you want, I says, I can fly down and go to a meeting with her sometime if she doesn't want to go by herself. It's like, I'll be happy to just walk in there.
Yeah. San Diego's a fun place too.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun group.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to check out.
Yeah.
Well, so Brenda, kind of wrapping up here. Cool if we put your contact information below. If someone needs your help, watching this and be like, Brenda, that's the one. We need you.
Yeah.
We'll put all your contact information below.
Beautiful.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Well, of course.
This is fun. We got to have you back. This will be cool. Just get some updates with everything and see what the new ventures are.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time. All right. Take care.
Woo!